Foundation, bigger the most incredible right music. We're here. This is how we're doing the sound.
Ndi Kato. I'm a young politician. I'm also an activist, a women's rights advocate, of course. And I run Dinidari Foundation. And under Dinidari Foundation, we have several programs. We have Abuja Discourse, which is focused on conversations towards policy and legislative change. We have Politician, which is focused on putting women, giving women platforms, women politicians, women in leadership and all of that platforms, because we realize that women's activities are not that covered, unless there's a scandal or something. Women in power, all of that, they're not that, you hardly see the projection of their voices. And then we have Women They Vote, which is targeted at government's delivery of inclusive services for women, for the votes they bring and what they bring to the electoral process. And of course, ensuring that more women get into power. So yes, this year we're focused on increased participation of women in politics, increased and improved. So increased being that yes, more women should run for office and all of that, but then more women need to be voted for. And that the end product of all of this is that there is balanced governance and, like I said earlier on, government's delivery of inclusive services. Basically a gender consideration when government is delivering services in Nigeria. Serious. You can, especially when I talk about where I come from, the middle belt and northern part of the country, you can draw a straight line from the lack of freedom of the women there, the limitations women face there, and the extreme poverty. So you cannot say you want a society that is progressive when half of the society cannot work, cannot contribute besides, staying at home, cooking, having children, or being dictated on everything. They don't have their rights and all of that. We are literally keeping half of that society useless. And that cannot continue to happen. You cannot say you want a certain level of progress and not everyone can contribute to that progress. And then not everyone can come with their own perspective to that progress. That definitely will affect. And that's what we're seeing in Nigeria. Less girls going to school, leading to less educated women who are unable to make decisions on their own, do not have agencies on their own body, do not have rights, and do not have a say in the society. You can see that line with how it goes with how the children end up being raised. The quality of people we have in society, especially in northern Nigeria, the quality of life in that area, quality of products that come out of that kind of society. So we're having a lot of issues with our Majiri system and all that. Because if there were more women who had, education, had their own funds, financial independence, their children won't be in the streets. They would have a say. Mother would hardly say, no, my child, I can take care of you, but go out into the streets. It hardly happens like that. So you see the difference between the north and then the south. And even in southern Nigeria, we have issues like this because to a great extent too, might not be bad as this side, but women do not have their rights. Women do not have agency for themselves. Financial independence is a thing. Human rights for women, women's rights is a thing. So you can draw that straight line between the lack of rights for women, the lack of agency women have over their own bodies, lack of financial inclusion, or let me say financial exclusion, and then lack of financial independence and where Nigeria is right now. Then you can also look at the quality of governance we're getting. Government should be made up of all angles of the society because every different side, or all aspects of society, every different side has the angle they bring to governance. So if you have just men in there, and I would say older men, you'll be looking at things like people who are old enough or are on their way out of this world. Of course, that is how life is. Death is inevitable. Will take heavy loans, heavy things, make decisions that the next 5-10 years, they are not here to live with the repercussions. So we don't have women there. We don't have young people there. A whole group of people, entire groups, persons with disability left out of governance. Of course, government will be lopsided. And you will see the effect. Look at Nigeria, for example. It is telling in the way our country is run. A lot of things women are doing, especially women groups, is fighting for, number one, equality. And when we say equality, people tend to be apprehensive, especially men, because, they think equality is a competition. It's not a competition. It is that this world is difficult enough as it is, and all groups need to come to the table and contribute as much as they can. Now, for you to be able to contribute, you have to be empowered. So you can have people contributing equally or contributing and saying, look, this battle is for all of us when one group does not even have their complete rights. It doesn't work like that. So women are first fighting for equal rights for the girl child, equal rights for women to be able to do things, to have agencies, to be able to make their own decisions for themselves. And then we are leaning on, once this is possible, you would see a better output from women. And many women organizations fighting for that. Many of us are fighting for education for the girl child because, of course, with knowledge comes the power to do many things. And so we're pushing for that. But on the political aspects this year, there is a collective push for that affirmative action. That look, Nigerian women need more of us in governance, need more of us in politics, but not just us getting into politics, but we need to be able to win these seats. We need to be part of the decision-making process. And leaning on that, being part of the decision-making process. And let's not get this wrong. Sometimes we tend to reduce that to individuals and whether they are good or bad. And that is not it. It's that gender balance is needed. Once you say gender balance is needed and you get that, you don't expect that. Just like the men who are there, not everybody is good or not everybody is a saint, not everybody makes better decisions. But gender balance will be achieved if there are more people in there. Better balance in delivery of services will be achieved if there are more people from different groups in these places. And that is what we are hoping for. That when you allow more of these people, there is balance, there is a better output because different angles come to the table and different angles will bring better output than the table being lopsided. One group is so many in here and then others are not in there. So that is the push this year. Inclusive participation, that women get into office more and that we lean on that. We are also fighting for more women to be aware of what is due them in government delivery of services. So we're pushing through Women Devo to have grassroots women actually demanding for delivery of inclusive services, primary healthcare centers, education for the girl child, water, all of these things that limit women participation and all of that. In day-to-day activities, in equal rights and all of that, women are demanding more at the rural level, and we are hoping that by demanding more, they become aware of the political system and how, you know, the kind of people you vote in will determine what you get and do not get. You know, my son just clocked 13 a few days ago. And I remember I brought him from school to celebrate that. And I asked him, wait, what do you want to do going forward? He was like, he sees how, and that is it for equal. This saying that all of us belong on this table. And that he's in a mixed school. And he sees brilliant girls in this mixed school. And he's starting to understand, wait, as we grow and we keep going, some of these girls may be cut down by the roadside because of inequalities. You know, some of these girls may not be able to achieve the future I will be exposed to as a young man. And he sees how hard his mother works. And I like that he's part of the conversation and he's saying, look, okay, we young boys, we have a place, a role to play. And that these people are partners in this world. We are all in this world together. We are facing the same things. Some of us are facing wars and all of that. And it is up to us to not sit back with the privileges we have as young boys. To not sit back and say, maybe there's nothing like that. What are these girls fighting for? What is this? Or all of us are in class together, so there's nothing like that. To recognize that privilege and then lean on it and say, we are going to lend our voice, our power, and everything to ensure that young girls get a better deal out of life. Young girls get equal opportunities. Young girls get equality. And we're raised in a world where everyone gets a fair deal. And if we're talking about each for equal, I don't think there's any better example than what Paul decided to say on his 13th birthday. And every time I remember it, it just makes me really glad that we have a generation of young boys. And it is that, in saying each for equal, that no one is left behind in this fight. That we look at men and decide, look, instead of, and let me not say instead of, we decide that for those who don't know, we will educate. Because if you convert one person every day, that is victory. And deciding that, look, as we say that this world, all of us have to come together and women need equality for that coming together to happen. It means that in the fight for women's equality, all of us have to come together. And men, women, everyone who is not aware of what it is, we can educate, we can carry along, because it's better to convert more people than to antagonize and to separate. Thank you so much.
Thank you.